The topics to be covered in the Realeyes IDS rule definitions demo are triggers, which are the lowest unit of detection, actions, which are combinations of triggers, events, which are combinations of actions. Statistics are part of the rules definition, but are covered in the reports demo. Rules consist of three levels which are displayed in the incidents on the Analysis tab. Triggers are the unit of detection. They match a specific location, such as a field in a header or an octet string in payload data. Actions consist of one or more triggers. Multiple actions may include the same trigger, such as a TCP port. Each trigger is assigned a weight in the action definition, and the action is assigned a threshold weight. When a session is analyzed, the weight of the triggers detected are accumulated, and if the total meets or exceeds the threshold, the action is reported. Otherwise, the action is discarded. Events are the highest level and contain one or more actions, which may be in opposite halves of a session. Events are associated to actions like actions are to triggers. The online help explains all fields and buttons in the rules windows. This includes the syntax of definition fields and restrictions on data entered. Triggers are detected by specialized plugins in the IDS application, such as the IPv4 header plugin or the payload data plugin. In the left panel, trigger definitions are organized in a tree structure. The top level contains the plugin names, which determines which plugin's XML configuration file includes the trigger. The second level is categories for organizing the trigger by function. The right panel displays all possible fields of a trigger definition. The plugin name and function define where in the left panel tree the trigger will be included. The trigger name is a free-form field that should be descriptive but brief. The trigger type defines how the trigger matching is performed. There are some restrictions on the plugin for which the trigger is defined. Data plugins may only use the string or special type. TCP, IP version 4, and IP version 6 plugins may only use the location or special type, and the UDP plugin may only use the location type. Special triggers require code in the plugin to handle the special conditions. The definition fields following the special type field are uniquely defined for that code. This example shows the TCP options special trigger. Requirements for special triggers are explained in the Realeyes IDS System Manual. The value to be matched consists of 8-bit characters. The format of acceptable values is explained briefly in the online help for rules and in detail in the Realeyes System Manual. It is possible to define strings, numeric data, and regular expressions. Certain escaped values may also be used. For example, \r indicates a carriage return. The meaning of the location and length depends on the trigger type. For strings, a non-zero location is the distance from the start of the session that the value must be found. The length is ignored. For location triggers, the location field is exactly where the value is to be matched, and the length is the number of characters to test. For example, a send packet is detected if the value 2 is found at location 13 in the TCP header for a length of 1. The flag's usage depends on the trigger type. All flags for special triggers are defined by the trigger handler code. String triggers may use the mixed case and/or the regular expression flags. Location triggers use the global flag to indicate that the value is constant for an entire session. An example of this is ports. The mask flag indicates whether the value is a mask, and if so, if it's ANDed or ORed with the session data. The number comparison flag defines the operation to use when comparing the value to session data. The default is equal. String triggers may use the backspace flag and list if the IDS application has been compiled to use it, but that is currently not the default. Actions consist of one or more triggers with conditions unique to the action being defined. A single plugin correlates detected triggers with actions. In the left panel, action definitions are organized in a tree structure similar to triggers. The center panel displays the action definition in the top frame and its associated triggers in the bottom frame. The target type, attack type, and action name define the action. The action threshold is the total weight of the detected triggers that must be reached for the action to be reported. The end of line is a comma-separated list of end-of-line strings, such as ASCII value 13, which is carriage return, or HTML end tags. Triggers are identified by the plugin name, function, and trigger name. A support trigger limits the amount of memory used when a trigger is included in many actions, such as ports. There must be at least one trigger which does not have this flag set. When a trigger is detected, its weight is added to the action total. Less important triggers should have lower weights. If triggers must be in a specific order, the sequence number is set for them. Every trigger in the sequence must have a unique number. The distance fields define triggers that have a distance relationship. If the distance type is start, the triggers must be within that location from the start of the session. The other distance type flags define the relationship these triggers have with each other. There must be only one trigger with a distance trigger value of 1, and it sets the distance value itself. Other triggers which have a distance trigger value greater than 1 are simply part of the group. The same line flag is set for all triggers that must not be separated by any of the end-of-line strings. If the not flag is set and a trigger is detected, the action is discarded. If the XOR flag is set for multiple triggers, only the first one detected is used to add to the action weight. The right panel displays triggers in the action and includes the fields of the trigger definition and the trigger association with the action. This makes it possible to compare trigger definitions for an action. Events consist of one or more actions with conditions unique to the event being defined. A single plugin correlates detected actions with events. In the left panel, event definitions are organized in a tree structure similar to triggers and actions. In the center panel, the event definition is in the top frame and its associated actions are in the bottom frame. The target type, attack type, and event name identify the event. The severity is the default value of the event. The event threshold is the total value of detected actions that must be reached for the event to be reported. Threshold 2 is for future use. A hot IP is an IP address for which all sessions are captured. This is covered in detail in the Advanced Topics demo. The host list determines which sensor hosts are to use the rule, which allows some rules to be customized for specific purposes. It is defined with the keyword all or a comma-separated list of sensor host names. The vulnerability links and information fields provide reference information for analysts. The active flag will deactivate a rule if it is not to be used. The target type, attack type, and action name identify the action. When an action is detected, its weight is added to the event total. If actions must be in a specific order, the sequence number is set for them. Every action in the sequence must have a unique number. The association flag allows events to be defined with actions that are in different halves of a TCP session. Actions defined as requests must have one corresponding reply. This is determined using the TCP sequence and acknowledgement numbers of the triggers in the defined actions. This event will only be reported if an attempt is made to use the default login ID and password and the server accepts it. If two actions are related, they can be anywhere in the opposite halves of the TCP session. The external data flag is covered in the Advanced Topics demo. If the NOT flag is set and the action is detected, the event is discarded. If the XOR flag is set for multiple actions, only the first one detected is used to add to the event weight. And the right panel displays all actions included in the event. This concludes the Realeyes IDS rules demo. Please visit the project website for more information.